This is man versus machine for cricket.com. The man, oh, what a man. Wasim Jaffer. The machine, well, it's kind of me mostly, but it's Criclytics on behalf of cricket.com. We are going to talk about the incredible predictions that we made for this game, talk about this series a little bit, but we're also going to talk about Sam Curran, mostly because that Criclytics and Wasim Jaffer had plenty of chances to say that he was going to be the top scoring all-rounder, and we heard actual crickets, like the little bugs, when it comes to them. For the best all-rounder, Wasim, you went with Ben Stokes. That's fair. I can understand that. Criclytics liked Ben Stokes or Krunal Pandya. Sam Curran, he had a bit of a game.
Fantastic game. Nearly pulled it off. Amazing innings. Would have been a match series winning knock, but unfortunately just fell short. But what an effort. What a fantastic effort by him.
I think the best thing about this particular innings was for how long it was actually funny as well. So, you had Sam Curran and Mark Wood not being able to understand what their tactics were. It seemed like one of them had one plan, another one had another plan, but then there would be some good hitting. Then there was some incredibly bad fielding from India. They dropped some of the easiest catches ever. And then, of course, it finally ends by Sam Curran falling over at the non-strikers end. So it had drama, it had comedy, and it had some big sixes.
Yeah, I nearly remembered you saying that it's going to go till the last ball, and I thought that's going to happen. But outstanding fielding again from Hardik Pandya, even though he made a couple of mistakes earlier. But Sam Curran, I thought, he had confidence. He wasn't taking the singles. He probably didn't have probably that much confidence on Mark Wood, which is understandable. And he had a lot of belief in himself that he could pull it off, and he nearly did. It almost came to the last two balls, but fantastic game. Series decider. Wouldn't have been a better game than this.
Yeah, I think what you saw with Sam Curran was a completely different way that young players think about chases compared to older players. I think older players would have taken every run that was on offer. They would have tried to hustle, whereas Sam Curran went, well, wait a minute, we need 50 runs off 30 balls. That's really only 8-9 boundaries if I can clear the ropes a couple of times here. It's interesting how younger players think about this compared to how players of your generation would have gone about it.
Exactly. I think he also thought that it's only a couple of big shots in an over, which I think he had believed that he could do it and nearly pulled it off. He knew that if Mark Wood gets out, the other guy, Reece Topley, doesn't hold that much as a batter. So he took it upon himself and nearly pulled it off.
Yeah, it's worth saying about Reece Topley that he has more professional wickets than he does professional runs. He is... And I don't say this at all to downplay. He is one of the worst batsmen in world cricket by a distance. And he came out first ball and he hit one through covers. It was a very fun chase. In fact, it was by far the most fun game of the series, wasn't it? We had 3 games over 300, but this was the first one that really kept us gripped all the way through.
Definitely. The third game was probably the most tight one, and it had to be. Series decider. And the way England batted in the second ODI, it looked like it is going to be again decent chase. But a couple of early wickets, the guy who scored runs didn't get runs this game, and the game shifted, towards India. But Sam Curran had different ideas and nearly, took it to the last over. Took it to the last 2 balls nearly.
Well, let's talk about the guy who did make runs today, Jonny Bairstow. So Criclytics had Jonny Bairstow and Virat Kohli as the players they thought were going to make the most runs. You went with Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma. Virat Kohli got bowled by the only ball that really turned today, and no one's ever looked more shocked. Even Virat, and let's be honest, Virat does great face. Even he looked shocked by that particular ball. Take us through what you thought of Shikhar Dhawan today.
I thought he played really well. He's probably the guy who gets the innings rolling. Even though we know how Rohit Sharma hits the ball, but I think in the partnership, he's the guy who shifts the gears and makes life easier for the other batsmen. And he did that really well in this inning also. I think his inning was very crucial, even though India lost 2-3 wickets early on, but Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya, they played really good knock for India to get to 330 plus. And I thought Shikhar played really good knock today.
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting things for me was that India batted quicker, but when they came off the field, Hardik Pandya said they weren't actually trying to score any quicker. It's just that England played so poorly. So they were still going with their normal strategy, And even though they lost wickets, they ended up with roughly the same score anyway. But a couple of words just on the way that Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya tried to consolidate by hitting a lot of fours and sixes. Again, not so much what players of your, and I can say players of your era because you're now retired, but not so much of what players of your era would have done.
I think it looked very obvious since they were put into bat again. It looked like, they wanted to score more than 350, 360 because how easily 330 was getting chased. And it did look from their approach, the way Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan started, there was an urgency in their approach and which is understandable. And that's the reason why even Rishabh Pant and Hardik Pandya batted the way they batted, because they wanted India to get to that 350 mark, even though they fell short of it because they lost early wickets as well as even after Krunal Pandya. But I thought they game, and I think that's a brand of cricket, Indian teams playing under Ravi Shastri and Virat Kohli, that they always go hard and when it matters, they put their best foot forward. I mean, in series decider in this one, even in the T20 tournament, they were one all. And going forward, and they put their best forward when it matters.
For best wicketkeeper, Criclytics went with KL Rahul and Rishabh Pant. Rishabh Pant, we've already talked about, played very well. For best bowler, Criclytics went for Adil Rashid and Shardul Thakur. You actually mentioned Reece Topley, and we'll come to him in a moment. But you also did mention Shardul Thakur. It's quite an interesting game for him. He bowled a one-knuckle slower ball at one stage, a half a knuckle slower ball. I'm not even sure if we have to name that. We'll name that later, you and I. But I thought he bowled very, very well and took a lot of wickets there, didn't he?
Shardul, like we talked, he's the guy who goes for runs, but he'll pick wickets, and exactly what he did today. 4 crucial wickets. And I thought Adil Rashid bowled really well as well, getting the wicket of Shikhar Dhawan and getting a beauty to get Rohit Sharma as well. So that was 2 important guys that he broke the partnership with and bowled really well.
And one of the discussion points that we had before this game was about whether Kuldeep Yadav would play, who he would be replaced by. Neither of us thought that T. Natarajan would come in. Now, this is very interesting because this was also the first game that Hardik Pandya was going to be bowling, and they brought in an extra seamer. So I found the whole thing very interesting. And in the end, India only went with 4 overs from Krunal Pandya.
Yeah, I think probably that's a decision made because of the conditions. I think the spinners probably, hard and the way Virat Kohli is losing toss, they were pretty much, were aware that they're going to bowl in the second half. So I thought in those conditions, it was hard for the spinners to bowl, and that is the reason why they went with 4 seamers. And even the one spinner couldn't finish his quota of overs, and that's why Hardik Pandya had to bowl. And good that he bowled and bowled those crucial overs, picked up wickets. And I think it's very, very critical that he bowls because he has got so much variations, so many change-ups, and I think it keeps him involved in the game as well.
For our fantasy picks, I went with Reece Topley, who I think got 1 wicket, so he picked up a couple of points there. You went with Rohit Sharma, who took a catch, so that was a nice little one. But that's us in Criclytics. But what about your general thoughts on these 2 teams? There was a lot of pressure put on India that they needed to score quicker, and there was a lot of pressure put on England that they needed to be less reckless. Yet both of these teams have been incredibly successful doing those 2 things.
I think England played fantastically, especially in the one-day format. I think they pushed India to the limits. They could have easily won the first one day. It was their game to lose. Second game they played their best game in the second ODI, and even in third one they came very close to winning it, even after losing 6 wickets. It shows how much depth they have there in batting. Adil Rashid coming at number 9. So I mean, they were top number 1 and number 2 teams, contesting against each other, which was a great, view for all the fans. And I think going forward, they are probably the 2 strongest side that are competing, and it was great to watch.
And if you could have a look at the best players in this series, I know Criclytics might slightly disagree, but I'd say probably the best bowler was Bhuvi, and I'd say probably the best batter was Bairstow. And KL Rahul probably gets a special mention there too.
I think so. I think obviously KL Rahul batted really well apart from this one. I think Bhuvi bowled really well, coming back after the injury. But I think you need to mention Shardul Thakur as well. I think he was like we mentioned all the time. He gives away runs, but he picks wickets. So in the first ODI also he picked wickets, and even in the last one when it mattered, Bairstow was out and out, standout performer without a doubt. Two unbelievable knocks, and I think you got to give Jarrod credit to the Indian side as well. They lost all three tosses, but ended up winning the series. So they were probably chasing the game all the time, and I think they did fantastically well against all odds to come out and win the series 2-1.
Yeah, it's also worth mentioning that neither team had a full strength side, so they both had some weaknesses that they had to overcome. They were testing some newer players, moving the batting order around. It was a very interesting series from that point of view. Even if we're not got a World Cup coming up, you have two very strong teams going up against each other. So I found it very interesting. But I think everyone watching now just wants to know who won the Goody Bag for the prediction. I think that's that's what people are here for. They're not here for you and me. They might be here for Criclytics and cricket.com, but they're not here for us just to waffle on forever. So, I'm going to tell you. The Goody Bag goes to Hitesh Fulwani, who said it was going to be a 10-run victory by one of these sides. And I tell you what, he was not far off at all there. So very good work, Hitesh. Hit us up on Facebook, on cricket.com's Facebook page. We'll be able to help you out with the Goody Bag, which it's a bag and it has goodies in it. That's all I really know about it. I'm going to be honest, Hitesh, but I'm sure it's going to be awesome. For those of you who like this content and want to continue to watch with cricket.com, there'll be much more for you to digest right here during the IPL. So like, subscribe, share. Also, download the app. If you want Criclytics in your pants, and honestly, who doesn't? Download the app, you get all the information you want, and if you want to seem a little bit smarter than your favorite uncle, Criclytics and cricket.com is the one for you.